For reasons that will become clearer later in this episode, my mind was recently taken back to an illustration I saw in a school textbook, probably some 30 years ago. It was an image of a man being, for want of a better word, shot through the head with a metal bar. There are two things I vividly remember. One was that the chap looked quite shocked in the illustration, as you would, given the circumstances, and two, despite the fact that the metal bar blew a large hole clean through his head, he survived. I've looked this up to ensure it wasn't some sort of fever dream or a misremembered episode of 999 with Michael Burke, and I can confirm that it was neither of those things. It was, in fact, the story of Phineas Gage. He was an American railroad construction foreman who, on September the 13th, 1848, was using a tamping iron to pack explosive powder into a hole. As he was doing so, the powder detonated. The tamping iron, 43 inches long, 1.25 inches in diameter, and weighing approximately 13 pounds, shot skyward, straight through Gage's face via his left cheek, into his brain and out through his skull, landing several dozen feet away. Even with a large hole in his head and having lost his left eye, Gage didn't apparently even lose consciousness. Supposedly he was able to gesture to his injuries and quip to the attending doctor that here is business enough for you. The reason Gage's story is taught in schools is not simply because he was extremely lucky or hard as nails, it's because of how his personality changed after the accident. Having lost much of his brain's left frontal lobe, which sounds quite careless of him when you put it like that, as if he's left it down the side of the sofa with the TV remote and a half-eaten packet of dry roasted peanuts, his personality changed dramatically to the extent that his friends referred to him as no longer Gage. Because of this, Phineas Gage influenced 19th century discussion on the mind and the brain, particularly debate on cerebral localization. He has become a fixture in the curricula of neurology, psychology and neuroscience, one of the great medical curiosities of all time. Speaking of which, here's Kev! No, I'm just joking. Kev will be along in a bit when we've defrosted him. Anyway, Gage is perhaps one of the most remarkable examples of people who survived the unsurvivable, but he's not the only one. How about Vesna Vulovic, the flight attendant and the sole survivor of the 1972 crash of the JAT Flight 367, who holds the Guinness World Record for surviving the longest fall without a parachute, 33,000 feet. Anatoly Berjowski made the mistake of sticking his head inside the Soviet Union's largest particle accelerator and got struck by a proton beam. Reportedly, he saw a flash brighter than 1,000 suns, but didn't feel any pain. The beam passed through the back of his head, into his brain, his middle ear, and then out through the left-hand side of his nose. The exposed parts of the head received a local dose of 200 to 300,000 Röntgens. I don't know what they are, but they sound bad. Doctors prepared to observe his death, but he didn't die, and in fact he is still alive today, so you can take your Röntgens and shove them. Ludger Silbaris survived the apocalyptic eruption of Mount Pelée, a volcano just north of Saint-Pierre in Martinique. How? Well, because he happened to be in solitary confinement for being drunk and disorderly. His tiny cell would prove to be one of the only places in the city of Saint-Pierre where survival was possible. He would later join the circus, known as the only living object that survived in the silent city of death. Plus, there was Aaron Ralston, whose arm was crushed by a boulder while he was climbing alone in Utah in 2003. He then had to cut it off with a penknife, approximately 127 hours later. James Franco played him in the film, of course. Is he cancelled now? I'd lose track. Anyway, what's the point of any of this? Well, that's a very philosophical question you're asking there, but in the context of this podcast, there is a correlation between my opening witterings and our film for this episode. That's right, there is a film to be discussed here. Well, which reminds me, hello, my name is Ben Taylorson and welcome to the House of Hammer. No, we've done that, right, so, anyway, this time we're taking a look at Hammer's 1954 whodunit, or whodunwhat, The Unholy Four, aka A Stranger Came Home. Trust me, the alternate title makes a lot more sense. Before we get into this film, the ever eagle-eyed Smokey has noted something in the opening credits that warranted further investigation.
As we continue our journey through the world of Hammer, you do start to notice a thing or two. We've already mentioned several actors who have piqued our interest, of course. There's also been the notorious hand crank and false beard segments. But then you get to the cast and crew of these films, many of whom have been with Hammer for a long time, and will continue to be for quite a while. Will we get to every crew member who was instrumental in making the company be what it was? It's doubtful, although we will try our best. You may remember us mentioning Renee Glynn not too long ago. Her time in the continuity department is pretty legendary, and we will get to her properly in the not too distant future. Then there's the work of makeup artist Phil Leakey, whose name graces the credits of Hammer Productions so many times that it's monumentally impressive. There will be more on Mr. Leakey later in the year too. For this episode's particular film of The Unholy 4, we take a look at the costume department, and we find Molly Arbuthnot. Not only would Molly do costume design for future Hammer classics such as Dracula and The Abominable Snowman, but she also had a hand in past reviews we've done, including Blood Orange and Face the Music. So, as you can imagine, with such an impressive CV under her belt, squeezing in a small segment about Ms. Arbuthnot here wouldn't seem very fitting. Sorry. No, for this particular instance, something else caught my eye. On the credits at the start of the film, underneath the titles of camera operator, hairdresser and wardrobe mistress, is the curious proclamation of Furs by Molho. Now, of course, you see something like that, and when a character or characters appear wearing a fur coat or such like, then you know they've done their job. But if you're like me, and your only real exposure to fur garments is either from the scene in Ghostbusters 2, where the mink coat comes back to life and belts it down the sidewalk of a busy Manhattan street, or from a particularly saucy scene involving Tony and Carmela in an episode of The Sopranos, then you can be forgiven to being somewhat intrigued. So that's what set this whole segment off. Who or what is Molho? One had to assume it was the designer name of fur coats, right? Exactly. Sadly, there really doesn't seem to be much information on these highly desirable articles of clothing, only the fact that they were indeed highly desirable, especially during the 1950s and 60s. Most of them were made out of mink, and that also, should you really want a Molho fur coat? Well, there's one currently being sold online. It's on sale too, with a whopping 89% off its price tag, down from $2,978 to a paltry $300. If you don't snap up that bargain, then you just know that I will. They also have a few film credits to their name, including another of our past features, 36 Hours. Regardless of whether any of this information is interesting or even worth imparting, what it does do is reinforce the fact that when looking at the credits of these films, irrespective of whether we end up liking them or not, the team of ladies and gentlemen that put their time and effort into making them should always be applauded. So, I really think it behooves us to take a second glance at some of these names from time to time, because we never know what might turn up. Ooh, look at that, lunchtime. I'm going to lounge in my newly acquired coat and watch Ghostbusters 2.
Lovely stuff. And please be assured there are no real furs available in the House of Hammer merch store. Merely tremendous t-shirts, hoodies, and a bath mat that will make you the talk of the town. See the show notes for a URL that will whisk you off to merch heaven. So, this film. Well, it goes a little something like this. Phil Vickers has returned home. Who? Phil. Or Vic. The names seem interchangeable, which is quite confusing. Anyway, he's played by William Sylvester. He's been away, but he's come back. Where has he been? And why? And who are all these people that he's coming back to? And why does he seem very angry? All of these questions and more are designed to intrigue, when in fact they merely confuse.
You gonna talk? Can I get good and ready? In that case, I'll save my questions till later. Anyway, it's good to see you back, Vic. going to be fun.
You always did have a weird sense of humor.
At least I have one, which is more than you can say. Unless
what?
Unless you've acquired one in your travels, along with that scar. You've changed, Vic. Changed a lot.
Which do you think you prefer, Bill? You weren't very fond of the old Vickers, as I recall it.
I don't like people very much. Not even the people I like.
So with Vic back, when his wife Angie, as played by Paulette Goddard, sets eyes on him, she faints, which seems a little melodramatic, albeit a frequent cinematic occurrence over the ages. So here's Kev, really this time, fully defrosted and functioning, to tell you more about fainting.
In The Stranger Came Home, Paulette Goddard does her most impressive shock, spoon, feint combo that makes full use of the expansive and very shiny new kitchen set that looked more than a bit implausible. I mean the feint, not the kitchen. As the only fainting I've ever seen is on film or watching funny YouTube videos, I thought this one not only took the biscuit, but the whole packet and whatever else was in the barrel, and then the barrel to boot. What I do know is that fainting always happens at the most inopportune moments, and it can be anywhere, as demonstrated by Olympic artist swimmer Anita Alvarez, who went from bathing in the rapturous applause of the crowd to, well, bathing. Then there's loads of footage of fighter pilots going to sleepy night time when they really shouldn't be, which makes me thankful that fighter jets are just too scared to come around here. Apparently, the old saying, faint heart, is actually that. It all stems from your heart suddenly getting a bit of a move on due to some stress that can either be mental or physical. The sudden extra rush of blood to the head is triggered by the vagus nerve, that then also panics and slams the anchors on everything and leaves the brain without any oxygen. The vagus nerve is clearly out of its depth and should have gone for a simpler job like toenail growing or checking for pimples. The feint only lasts a short while, just long enough to make you look stupid in front of Liz Truss or something like that, and it isn't much of a big deal. After all, an average of 30% of the population will faint at some time. I didn't think it was that much until I realised that's 2,400,000,000 people. That's quite a lot, but it's okay. It's mainly down to the elderly, who have a much higher chance because their blood pressure is all wrong and there's nothing much else to do except bingo and countdown on a Tuesday afternoon. As we often end up going down these little knowledge rabbit holes in these segments, I was overjoyed to discover the myotonic goat. It's a North American breed of goat known as the stiff leg, wooden leg, nervous or fainting goat. They look absolutely ridiculous and are the best thing on the internet after cats playing pianos, and the mad thing is, they don't even really faint. If something startles them, a genetic condition makes their muscles lock up and they keel over. I hope that gene never makes it into the mountain goats, because if you're ever on a skiing trip, you've got a lot more than a yeti, an avalanche or a Hollywood lunatic to contend with. All joking about showers of mountain goats aside, if you find yourself fainting a lot, it could be an indicator of far more serious cardiovascular problems afoot, and will need more investigation than a cup of tea to bring you around. Now bear with me because there's no easy way of doing this, but I'm going to bring the Sex Pistols into it here. The Sex Pistols album Jubilee has an image on its sleeve depicting a royal guard on duty, but in a horizontal fashion, with nobody batting an eyelid. When I started digging into this, I was amazed to find that not only do they have to follow the correct protocol and face plant to attention, whether they lose a pointy nose or teeth or not, but also nobody, and I mean nobody, should ever break rank to check on their fallen comrade. It seems a bit harsh to me, but then, more often than not, a faint is just a passing thing, and all you need is a little lie down and some air, and you'll be fine. Which brings me back to The Stranger Came Home, where Philip Vickers scoops up Angie and takes her to bed. It seems a little bit over-dramatic when she was in the kitchen and he could quite easily have plonked her on the table next to the fried ham and thrown some water on her. I guess Philip has a better bedside manner than myself, but he's not very practically minded. Probably all the roofies.
So to reiterate, everyone is shocked and fainting that Vic is back. And we find out that whilst on a jolly in Portugal, Vic was beaten over the head in a manner that would have killed most men, see, there is a tenuous tie-in to what I was wittering on about earlier, and left for dead, by one of the people he has returned back to see. But he did not die. He lived. And he ended up doing hard labour in Mexico for 4 years. But he's back now. But Harry's died. Off screen. Who's Harry? We don't know. Other than he's one of the Unholy Four, which could be guilty of clobbering Vic over the head back in Portugal, alongside Job, Sessions and Bill. Bill being played by Paul Carpenter, this time not playing a piano.
It's crazy. We were on the terrace, all of us. We were talking about Harry, wondering where he was. And then he just seemed to float right out from under the landing. I called Bill.
He must have got caught underneath.
But how did it happen?
You mean who made it happen?
He was our friend, Vic. It must have been accidental.
We were all friends in Portugal, Job. All 4 of us.
What's Portugal got to do with it?
Nothing, maybe. Maybe a lot. You better go call the police.
If you're a bit lost off, welcome to the club, but it's like this. Vic's back from a near-fatal clobbering 4 years ago, and Harry's dead. The chances are it's the same person who's tried to off Vic and killed Harry. Police, apparently from the misogyny division of the force, get involved in an attempt to solve the crimes.
What do you think, Doc?
Look at that. See the shape of the wound? A round lacerated area here.
Uh-huh.
The skull is splintered underneath. Looks to me like a bar or pipe with a lump at one end.
Do you think he was hit?
Sure he was hit, and hard, too.
Could he have done it falling?
He could have done. If he did, he went to a lot of trouble to knock his brains out. If he hadn't, He doesn't look any too bright.
Men in his condition seldom do. Check 2 things particularly. Could he have done it falling? And could a woman have done it? An active woman in good condition. The sort that sails boats and things.
Ah, women. They're getting too capable for their own good these days.
Basically, the remainder of the film is Vic and the police force trying to work out what happened in Portugal and what has happened to Harry. We don't care about Harry, because we don't know who he is, but we are mildly interested to hear what happened to Vic, despite the fact he's just one of a plethora of characters both unlikable and forgettable in equal measure. And with that slight hint of what's to come, it's time to head over to the round table where I'm joined by Smokey and Kev.
Well, lads, the Unholy Four, or as we should really call it, The Stranger Came Home, because obviously the Unholy Four is a 1970s spaghetti western. Why? Why is it called the Unholy Four in America? This is baffling me. All I could think of was the Unholy 4 years. Have you got any better ideas?
I think it relates to the 4 of them that are the sort of the core group, but this is the problem, okay? We have, this, and I'm going to go straight into my big rant, which is that we know nothing about these people, okay? And that's a fundamental problem for this film. They introduce this clique of 4, and one of them whom has been missing and has reappeared, as if we care about any of them, as if we know about any of them, and as if we understand the sort of the work or the industry or, whatever you want to call it that they're involved in. I mean, I assumed from the title and from the opening 10 minutes this was a mob thing. They were all kind of mobsters and, one had off the other in some kind of business deal gone awry. But they're not. They're all, and I don't mean this in the loaded term of legitimate businessmen. They all are legitimate businessmen involved in the same business.
Yeah, it's true.
And one of them has fallen foul of some incident. So yes, Kevin, all I'm saying is I agree. The title makes no sense because the film makes no sense to the viewer, particularly on a first watch.
Yeah, I think the issues with it are right at the beginning, because you get this kind of mysterious opening with our, I want to say protagonist, but he's not. He's a really deeply unlikable person from the very beginning. Okay, you could argue the fact that he's been wronged in some way, but the way the stranger comes home, you could set that up quite cool. That could be bit of intrigue, bit of mystery. Oh no, the guy who's supposed to be dead, he's back from the dead. That kind of thing. No, what do they do? He pets his dog and he goes to a party. And it's like, well, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to get all technical on you, but it's not. Adding to the myriad of issues this has is that it's bone-crushingly dull. I think I mentioned to you guys the other night, I thought, I'm about 40 minutes into this. This isn't too, I can get to the end. And I looked, and I was 17 minutes into it. I was like, where has that time gone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Ludicrous.
Yeah. It's 7 minutes before he actually goes to the party.
Yeah, I mean, Smokes, going back to what you said, you know, when you have a stranger that arrives in a situation, there's one of two ways they've got to be. They've got to be the baddie, or they've got to be the good guy who's absolutely wrapped in mysticism. You know, think like, you know, when Clint Eastwood in like The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, we don't need to know about him, we just know he's cool and he's kicking ass. Or, you know, you think about a bad guy, think about...
High Plains Drifter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where he's kind of the antagonist, where he rocks up and starts doing these sort of terrible things.
I'll add one more to that. Sorry, is either Lee Marvin in Point Blank or the remake Mel Gibson in Payback.
Oh yeah,
the good guy who has been wronged, who comes back to avenge something in a blaze of glory. But as you say, it just
but even in
happen.
both of those examples, you at least get a hint as to what they're trying to avenge. Here, we know, all right, he's returned from something, but we don't know the circumstances. Ultimately, it turns out we never find out really why someone tried to kill it. We kind of do, but other than it being alluded to that he's not a nice person and someone maybe wanted his wife, again, going back to sort of the brass tacks of it, you've got no fundamental reason to root for the hero. And everyone in this film, every single person, is deeply unlikable.
Yes, agreed.
except the dog.
Except the dog, who, Kev, technically isn't a person.
Can I just focus on the dog there for a second? Because I would like to point out when they return to the house at the end of the film, you know, the hero and the heroine, they've got the gates wide open and the dog is just roaming around. It's like, hang on, why is that dog out there?
I've got that on my notes as well because I thought, that poor dog's been left out for a day. It's just been wandering the grounds. Maybe it's gone to the little boat and played about on there. Or maybe just hung around the river looking for bodies.
It is a massive dog. They maybe mistook it for a horse.
Yeah, it is.
A big dog. Yeah.
It's funny as well because the body that I allude to, the river, I never realised it until this second time watching it that you never actually see the character. I mean, he must have been an absolute egomaniac because he had his car engraved with his monogram, and then his monogram appears on cigarette boxes and everything else. He's one of them guys that would have a T-shirt of his own face on his T-shirt. I'm sure of it.
Maybe he's just very forgetful. You know, is this my car?
If found, please return to.
But I mean, Kevin, you've hit there are several nails to hit on the head here as to why this is a terrible film, and this is another one. Okay, so you've got too mmany plots. All right, so we've already got Philip Vickers returning from where we don't care. Well, what's happened to him? I don't give a toss about that either. But then immediately introduced to that is, Harry's dead. Great, who? I don't care.
Yeah.
And then, then you've got the whole plot of, where's Angie gone on the boat? I don't know, because I don't know who she is either. And then all of a sudden it's a paranoid film about has Phil Vickers set this all up to, make a sort of paranoid situation where his wife might feel that she's being killed. And again, I don't care because I don't know who any of these people are. The whole way through, you're thinking, well, you've introduced me with like a dozen characters. You've not set up any of them. I don't care about any of them. The ones that I've seen are awful. So why on earth am I going to invest anything emotionally in this film?
Well, I thought Phil Vickers was actually bragging when he came back because he says that they went out on a fishing trip to Portugal, it got a bit sloshed and woke up on a tram in Mexico. Wow! I mean, there's some crazy geography going on there, and I mean, I've blacked out a few times when I've been drunk, but never woken up on a different continent. That's next level, that is.
I'm just gutted that's ruined our surprise holiday plans for us in the summer for you, Kev. It was going to be a surprise, but sorry, it's been broken.
But to be fair as well, it was good. Actually, Kevin, you've teed up nicely me a question I was going to ask Smokey, which was, have you ever awoken on a Mexican tramp with a big hole?
God, not since Tuesday.
There are many lines in this film, and I'm going to come back to some of them that are questionable at best, and that's just one of them.
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah, let's focus on that then. I mean, the script is a dog.
Yes.
And not the nice dog that we met earlier. It's a bad dog. And it's just
Downship.
Yeah, it's just ludicrously bad and
it's
clunky.
Ludicrously sexist.
I've got a whole section
yes,
of my
that's
notebook just on the sexism.
Yes.
Is the murder weapon light enough for a woman
I know.
to use it?
Could a woman have used it?
brilliant.
Yes. It's not too heavy for a woman. It's the verbatim what's said.
I'm thinking, I bet they would have said, oh, yeah, it's definitely lighter than a pan full of boiled potatoes.
Exactly. Or ham and eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah, don't forget ham and eggs. Yeah. But, I mean, also, we should point out, though, is that we've returned to a trope that we had just in the last episode of The House Across the Lake, which is that the murder weapon gets hoyed into a vast amount of water, and then they go, oh, we found the murder weapon. It's like, how? How did you find that?
Can I just add as well, hoyed into the lake for no reason at all.
Absolutely none.
It's not the murderer that chucks it in.
No.
It's someone that just happens to find it and think, oh, a murder weapon. Better throw that away. Oh, look, some evidence. Better throw that away.
Yep.
Why?
How the hell did they find it?
There must have been a real crack team, these, because they don't only just find the murder weapon, they find the handkerchief that's been wrapped around a rock and thrown into the middle of the lake.
I like to think it's the policeman, but he's got one of them fishing nets, them 99p fishing nets you get near the sea. On the end of a bamboo cane. He's like, oh, look at this hanky.
And a crab.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Oh, Sid James, what's happening here?
What's he doing there? They were supposed to take him away. They've left him. Oh, mate. But I mean, there are so many inconsistencies in this that it does become silly. But one of my favorites is an error in, I don't know, acting, editing, both, is that Vickers has got them all sat around a breakfast table.
He does love a bit of breakfast, to be fair.
He does.
He's obsessed with breakfast. And they all pause. And there's a massive silence until Paulette Goddard yells from off screen. And it was like, your mark was 30 seconds ago. But they leave it in the film.
Yeah, don't cut around it. No.
No. I was like, oh, come on. You're a very well-known actress, Mrs. Chaplin, but just get on your mark a bit bloody quicker. But no, it was the most random stuff. And when I watched it again the second time, I was waiting for it. And I was like, counting, 10, 9. Oh, there she is. It's ridiculous.
I've got another inconsistency as well. The first time that we meet Phil Vickers, the first time Phil Vickers meets Bill says, "Oh, you've changed. Maybe it's because of that massive scar on his head." But otherwise, how does he know? Because they've hardly even talked.
Yeah, who knows?
It doesn't make any sense. There's so many lines that don't make any sense in this film. It's a bit all over the place.
Yeah. We should point out, though, actually, now that you've mentioned Bill, played by our old friend Paul Carpenter, who is showing up in every film we review at the moment, who's been in, I think, in about the last 5 films we've done.
One day he'll win a fist fight.
He is put in these films to lose fights.
Yeah,
that's what he does.
Yep.
Gotta give a little credit to the fight at the end, though, because it's just so wonderfully ridiculous and brilliant, but we'll come back to that. Would like to point out Russell Napier, though, who plays the inspector. This is now his 5th film we've seen him in. That's another sort of little sleeper character actor that we've encountered.
He always seems to play police as well.
Always plays the police.
I was certainly sleeping.
We've met him in Stolen Face and Saints Return, Death of an Angel, 36 Hours, and then this.
Yeah, loads of terrible
He's been with us for a while, and I yeah, well, not all of them, but Stolen Face was great. But he's just kind of gone under the radar a little bit of character actors we've encountered through these films. I thought that was quite interesting.
Just picking up on your fight at the end, this is a film that is responsible for some of the most ridiculous fight scenes. They all seem to end with one punch. There's no actual fights. It's all one punch, you're down. To the point where you got one person gets murdered by a radiator.
Yeah, I like that though. I like to see a man lose a fight to a radiator. Kev, I know what you mean. It's and that scene. I thought, to be fair, I will give it the film some credit. I thought that scene was reasonably decent. So, you've got a character who doesn't really ever get involved in fights, and he sort of throws his fist out of anger.
Agreed.
And he sort of what you call about the stereotypical one punch killer, where he doesn't really mean to kill him at all. He doesn't even really mean to hurt him. He's just cross.
Yeah.
And he's immediately remorseful for what's happened, and that was one of the very few scenes in the film you think, okay, that worked a little bit. Yeah, I'll give it that. But yeah, I mean, oh my goodness me,
Yeah.
I do wish genuinely that someone would give Paul Carpenter a break in these films and let him at least half win a fight occasionally. Because I've seen films at the cinema where you can sit back and think, okay, so the star has got in their rider that they can't even get hit pretendily in a film because they've got to come out as the superhero. And this film had a bit of that about it towards the end. You're thinking, well, surely if you want a bit of tension, let the other guy at least land a punch, not just beat him up until the police arrive.
Yeah. Let him get the upper hand a little bit and then overcome that and win. Yeah. But something to give it some credit for is the conceit behind the final fight. I really enjoyed that because it's, are you going to confess now that I know you're a killer? And he goes, no. So he goes, right, do you know what then? I'm going to leather the crap out of you until you decide you're going to confess. So he beats him up. He goes down. Are you going to confess? No. So he beats him up again. And I'm like, this is great. Why didn't you make the last 20 minutes of this film finding new ways to beat the information out of him to tell the police? That would have been awesome.
We're back to Payback.
Yes, we are.
Or Cloudburst.
Strangely enough, though, the way that he's doing that, if the coppers turn up while he's still leathering him, they can look and say, who exactly are we arresting now here?
Arrest them all.
Yeah.
Throw them in prison for crimes against cinema.
Well, that's one of the great conceits about the copper in this one. The fact that he says, well, let's just arrest them all, take them all in for questioning, then let them all go again and wait for somebody to be killed.
Yeah, I mean...
What?
He does basically say that,
Yeah, he
doesn't
does.
he? He's
Unsound
Well,
methods.
not literally, but basically says, yeah, we're going to put these people in a metaphorical pressure cooker, and we're going to turn up the heat, and we're going to wait to see which one of them just explodes first. And it's like, well, hang on. Do you want to go back a couple of films and ask a jazz musician to find the killer? Do you want to do that as well? Because that's just as preposterous as what you're saying to do.
Who'd
now.
have thought, Smokey, that you'd be harping back to the halcyon days of the crime-solving trumpet player just 3 films on?
I didn't say it was a good
Better than this. It's better than this.
It is.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, I can't disagree. Right. I think we need to just zero in on the main problem.
You talk like there's only one, but I don't get the point.
No. Many. How is this 80 minutes?
Why?
Because there's so much padding.
Yes.
Because whoever edited it didn't do their job. That's why. Because we
Just
talked.
left it running.
There are scenes where someone is doing, and I'm not sort of saying this with any kind of like load. They're doing nothing, and the scene is a minute long. A couple of on a rewatch, I timed a couple of them, and the scene in some cases goes beyond 60 seconds, where they're just going from A to B, and it makes no sort of difference to the plot whatsoever. This film could easily have had 15 minutes trimmed off it. Easily.
Oh, more than that.
And it would have probably been a better film for not probably, and it would have definitely been a better film.
Yeah.
You make this a 55 minute movie, easy, I think. You could take 25
Even
minutes
65 minutes, it's going to be incredibly improved.
Yeah, I think it needed more defining as far as the characters were concerned as well.
No, absolutely.
I feel like they've really missed a trick there.
As Ben says, who are they?
Yeah.
Who are they?
I'd actually throw in. I don't disagree with what you said there in terms of either defining who these people are or just not have as many characters would be the other option.
True. Yeah. I mean, I can see why they were doing it so that you had everybody set up to possibly have a motive for it, but it became secondary. In fact, I've got two questions for you. I've got a 2-part question, right? Part 1, this is for both of you. I'll do you in order. Smokey, you're first. 2-part question is, did you figure, or at least guess, the murderer of Harry Bryce, the one that is actually the guy that we never see? And then part 2 is, did you care?
No and no.
And Ben?
Because I'll just say why it is, right? Because we never meet Harry.
Yeah.
No.
We don't know who he is. So he's dead. It's like, well, is he just a party guest?
No, he's actually the star of an Alfred Hitchcock film.
There was so much trouble with him. Yeah. But, nice. But actually, now I think about it, why was Harry killed? There's no reason to kill him.
No.
It offers nothing.
No, it just makes it more confusing because you've got rusty spanners and lead pipe and handkerchiefs.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. But, have Philip come home, him be really narked off that he got bonked on the head and he's lost several years of his life, which, by the way, changes in the narrative. It goes from 3 years to 4 years. And also have him come home and have him really properly investigate all these so-called friends of his and do it for, as we say, an hour, 65 minutes, whatever. Not an hour and 65 minutes. I mean, an hour or 65 minutes. And I know, Ben, I'm sorry. But do that. That is so much more of a better drama mystery than what we are provided with here.
Yep. Ben, your turn then. Did you figure, or at least guess, the murder of Harry Bryce, and did you care?
The answer to the first question is yes, and for long-standing listeners, they'll know that's quite remarkable because I never ever guess who the killer is. But the answer to the second question is no, and let me feed in a couple of sort of additional points about that. It goes back to what I was saying before. No, I didn't care because, as Smokey has rightly brought up, why would anyone care who killed Harry? Because Harry is one of several plots that have been fed in because, for whatever reason, the filmmakers have made the initial plot of man returns from faraway place boring and pointless. So they've got to throw in a couple of other murders because the murder of the other character that occurs, we've already alluded to, the one punch killer, is thrown in as well. And we also don't know who that is. So again, at least we get to see him for a little bit, but we also don't care who that is. So, no, I didn't care about that. But the real issue, and this is what when I was saying, Smokey said before, there was one fundamental question, or one fundamental sort of problem with this film. This is my problem. Who is Vic? Is he the good guy? Is he the bad guy? Do we want him to live? Do we want him to die? Do we want him to succeed? Do we want him to fail? This film flip-flops all the way through, but it never, ever reaches either extreme.
Yeah.
That there is a point in this film for 10 minutes where it becomes a paranoid thriller, where Vic apparently is paranoid that everyone's trying to kill him, so he cuts off his phones and he shuts his curtains and he keeps his wife close. And it's all about, now, what do we want to do? Do we want these other characters that we've met to somehow raise the police and get in there and save the wife? And then 10 minutes later, that plot is abandoned. The film never, ever decides what it wants to be. So why on earth should the viewer decide how they want to feel about it?
Yeah, I agreed. And I'm so glad you brought that up as well, because, as you say, he's done the whole end of Final Destination thing of, shutting off the world, cutting off the telephone, making sure nothing can hurt him because he thinks people are trying to kill him. And someone takes a pot shot at him through a window with something. Don't know what, because it doesn't seem like a gun.
Through a stone at a window?
Or a pigeon?
That's what it looks and sounds like.
I'm going to pebble you to death.
The pigeon, yeah. So someone weaponized speckled Jim and told it to go for him, right? And it failed, unfortunately. But no, so the next morning, he just happens to casually mention to Paul Goddard, he just sort of says, was someone trying to kill me last night? And as Ben so rightly says, goes out the window.
What came through the window?
But through the window. Like a pigeon. But no, that plotline is gone.
Never mentioned again.
Done. Someone just tried to kill him.
With what? Why? Yep. We never know. I still stand firm it was a chaffinch, not an assassination attempt.
Those killer chaffinches.
Gone rogue.
No, it just lost its way. Saw its reflection, became amorous. Who knows?
So we do have a decent body count. There is that going in its favour. I mean, it's just over an hour long and you get 3 bodies. You get Harry, you get Styles, is it? I don't know his name, the second one.
Don't spoil the last one.
I've got it written down what his name is. His name is Sessions.
Sessions, that's it. Yeah. Who's killed by Job and a radiator.
Yep.
Then Yeah, the third body, which is quite a strange one, but it kind of tracks as well as far as Vic's concerned. He's already shown that he's been roofied, and he was roofied a few years ago, so maybe he's just really getting used to it, because this time when he's roofied, he recovers quite quickly. In fact, quickly enough that he can get in a car and drive past the police and go over to the main suspect and beat the living crap out of him.
Yeah. This is so strange, is that we have the killer, right?
Yeah.
But we also have another character who thinks the Vickers is the killer, so they decide to doctor evidence to point it in the direction of Vickers instead of the actual killer.
Yep.
That is the most convoluted plot ever. So you see them sprinkling stuff on his boots, and it's like, all right, okay. And then, oh no, they're in the boot of your car. Again, all right, okay. And then the killer's just sort of like, oh, great, here's my opportunity.
Yeah.
Of all the ways you are going to convince the audience that they're the killer, that's the most weird and tortured route of getting there that could have been done in 100 better ways. It's, again, baffling. This film baffles me. And not in a complicated way, it's just a ridiculous way.
Yeah, because, I mean, in amongst all of this nonsense is a whodunit. And we've already said we don't care who did it, because we don't care about either the people they've killed or the people who've done the killing. And the person you've just been alluding to is ultimately a red herring who had a reason to be a murderer, but didn't do the murder, but then just died off camera. And it's like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
And that sums up my attitude to this whole film is, why should I invest my time if clearly you're not going to invest yours in the writing or making of this film?
It's more of a why do it than a who done it.
Yeah, well, it's more like a why watch it.
Yeah.
And now, if you don't mind, you can all leave. And while you're at it, start covering up tracks and rehearsing alibis. Somebody's going to need a good one.
Well, I think we've just about covered everything we can cover. Let's get out of here. Let's give us scores, and if you've got anything else that you want to get off your chest that might make you sleep a bit better without a roofie. Ben, you can go first.
I think I've exercised the demons here. I haven't got much positive to say about this, to be honest. All I will say is it was slightly more amicable on a second viewing, because you could actually work out what the hell was going on. Whereas I was 25, 30 minutes into this thinking, this is terrible, and I still don't understand what's going on. At least the second time round, you think, oh, okay, well, I can at least piece the plot bits together and pick up a little bit more of the nuance. But I still don't like any of them, don't care what's happening, and don't want to be here. It's a 3 out of 10 for me.
Yep. Smokey?
I do like to try and find the positives, and I'm really struggling with this, because as we say, is the acting bad? I mean, they're given such poor material to work with, it's hard to tell. And I was just reminded of another terribly misogynist line when the detective is questioning them, and one of the girl proffers her opinion, and he just goes, "Go to sleep, love." The men are
Go to
talking
sleep,
now.
doll. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow. So I don't know about that. My favorite bit was the end. Beat someone up till they decide that they're actually going to confess to the police. Fantastic. I wanted more of that. That was good. But apart from that, Dog was good. But apart from that, I'm struggling to find positives. I'm glad we've had this discussion, because it's brought my rating down, and I'm giving it a 3 as well. I did have it as a 4, now I'm giving it a 3. This is bad. I know I have my issues with the style of the Lions movies, because I'm not a fan of that kind of comedy.
Yeah.
But I could appreciate them a little more because of what they were trying to do. There was effort, there was passion. That's good. But when it comes to this is lackluster.
Yeah, I think you've got something there, Smokey, actually, thinking about it, because it's almost like everybody's just going through the motions with this. There's nobody that looks invested in any of the material. Not one actor seems to be giving it their all. Even Carpenter, the walking punch bag.
extend that to Terence Fisher as well, because the direction is non-existent.
Sloppy, boring.
So, there's one shot where I was like, ooh, and it was kind of cool, is when, literally right at the beginning, when Vickers comes home and in the mirror, and you've got that backwards reflective shot, and that was kind of cool, but that was it.
But that's immediately undone by the next shot where you've got Phil Vickers stood next to a big framed publicity shot of Phil Vickers.
Yeah, I know. So it's weak. So yeah, 3 out of 10 for me. This is bad. This is one of the worst Hammer films we've seen in a while in the noir genre. Because you look at this and you look at some of the lesser noirs that we've given 4, 5s, and 6s. They're so much better than this.
Agreed.
That it's a stark comparison between the two. It's a 3 for me, all day. How about you, Kev?
For me, this is a 2. It doesn't even feel like a noir. It feels more like you're back to the sort of country manor melodrama thriller whodunit, but it's not even got any thrills in it, even though it's got 3 kills. I don't know. It's just sloppy.
3 kills, no thrills.
Yeah. There. That's your poster quote.
That should have been on the poster.
Is it one that I will remember? It will be one that I'll remember the emotion of going, oh, God, not this again. But I certainly won't remember any of this film. In fact, I found it really hard to cling on to what I could remember from watching it again this afternoon.
It'll be one that I'm trying hard to forget, apart from one line, which if we can end on a slight high, is the most relaxed way of discovering that your wife is probably having an affair with one of your best friends.
It'll be nice to know what your car is doing in my wife's garage.
So there we are, a right shocker, and not in a good way, like when you come away from the movie feeling shocked, owing to the filmmaker's intent to shock, and you say to your significant other, Beryl, that film has shocked me, but in a sincere way that reflects the director's purpose to test my emotional limits. Do you think we can have a sit down for a minute? No, not like that, this was just bilge. But we don't have to loiter on this underwhelming effort, because here in the House of Hammer, the door to the next film will be upon us before you can say, man alive, where's that door come from? And next time we reach for the crowbar of criticism and prise open a cinematic hatch, behind it will be lurking third-party risk, aka the deadly game. Lloyd Bridges ends up blundering into aspiring and in the possession of a microfilm that everyone wants. Which, as a librarian, I can tell you is quite the opposite of what everyone would want today. Secret documents like on microfilm, can we not get them digitalised? Otherwise I'll have to pop down the public library and dust off the big clanky machine and try and fathom out how to use it. I always put the damn things in upside down as well and have to unspool them all back out again, and to cut a long story short, there's spooled film everywhere accompanied by a little gentle weeping. Stupid microfilm. And the microfiche aren't much better. Idiotic little flappy cards, and sometimes I just like to... Remember, you can stay in touch with the House of Hammer via the socials on Twitter and Instagram at HouseHammerPod, or you can drop us an email at scream@houseofhammerpodcast.com. And finally, if you're thinking, bizarre microfilms rant aside, I've quite enjoyed this, and I'd be happy to give a little bit extra for some perks and benefits and some extra content, you can do that at patreon.com/HouseHammerPod. Subscribers to the Hidden Room tier are able to hear us working our way through all of the 1980s Hammer House of Horror TV episodes. The first episode is already available, and the second will be coming very soon. Trust us, you don't want to miss those. Anyway, that's enough of all of this, so until next time, it's goodbye from me, Ben Taylorson.
From me, Smokey.
And from me, Kev Moore.
And we look forward to welcoming you back soon to the House of Hammer.